Welcome to my YouTube channel. As you know from Instagram, I post loads of free recipes and content and try and give out as much sort of free stuff as possible. So I thought, why not expand it into YouTube and make it even better so I can teach you some more stuff. Everyone literally thinks that I am Google. I get the craziest messages about cooking in my inbox. So I thought I would start this channel with a little bit of a get to know me. I was hoping for some cooking related questions rather than the most random questions I have received thus far. So I'm gonna get into it. The first one is, what is life like with 2 sausage dogs? Interesting. They are little shits. They ruin everything, but they are my little babies. How long have I been a chef for? I have been a chef for 10 years. I started my cooking apprenticeship when I was 16 years old, and then have just been cooking ever since then. My height, I am 172 centimeters tall. My favorite thing to cook, I would say a steak with mashed potato, butter, and like barbecue sauce. It's like my go-to. Okay, here's a funny one. Can I still eat lasagna even if I left it out the fridge cooking for 24 hours? No, don't eat that, you'll get food poisoning. What is your favorite dessert? I like old school desserts, so anything like a millefeuille or like crepes or vanilla slice, like anything that's like just loads of butter and fat and full of cream is literally the best. All right, next question. How did I get into WBFF? Which is bodybuilding. About 3 years ago now, I started training for it. But before that, I hurt my back. So I have 3 bulging discs and like arthritis and a number of things wrong. So I started training to help my back. Then I went to do powerlifting, which I was about to do a comp, and then I hurt my back again even more. So I just cut all that and then started to focus on sort of just doing something different. From there, I just got into bodybuilding because I thought it would be fun. And then when my business started to like take off, that's when I just decided I would go into bodybuilding because most of my clients were athletes. And then that's how I got into it. And I also make money from it, so it's good. How did I begin JHH? So I started my business 2.5 years ago. I basically fell into it after hurting my back. I was told not to be a chef, which was really upsetting. So I thought to myself, like, what could I do that would still be sort of chefing? Because I got into WBFF and bodybuilding, I then went, oh, okay, there's a gap in the market for like macro counted meals, and I sort of started it from there. So I had a pretend business, and I would tell everyone that I had this massive company and I actually cooked from my house. I had like 7 fridges in my house. I did all the driving. I would do all the cooking. I'd wake up, I'd sleep like 3 hours a night and just literally do everything until JHH actually became like a company. So it sort of like faked it until I made it, you know? And that's how that started. I hope you guys enjoyed this little get to know me video. This will probably be like the last video of me just directly just talking about me, which honestly I don't mind doing. I'm pretty good at it. But it would just be more so about cooking, recipes, and tips. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Welcome back to my first ever video, guys. So I thought I'd make my first recipe super easy, fun, and just tasty as well. We're going to be making Doughnut protein balls, which are one of my absolute favorites and also my client's favorite, which I often make all the time. So everything is already pre-weighed. We're gonna pop up the recipe in the subtitles as we go, and you'll be able to make it as well. So first we're going to go with a cup of coconut into a bowl. Next is some almond meal. If you don't have almond meal, you can just like blitz up the almonds. It's exactly the same thing. If you are feeling super lazy, just buy this. So there is 1.5 cups of this into the bowl. Next, we are going to add some cinnamon. So I like to go a bit wild with it, but that's up to you. I'm just gonna go with 1 tablespoon. And then the last dry ingredient is the clean vegan protein. This is like my favorite to bake with, to cook with, to do anything. It is the best. So I'm going to go with 2 big scoops of that. And then now for the wet ingredients. So vanilla paste, you can use vanilla bean, you can use essence. This one's pretty handy and it's just straight vanilla. It's not filled with any artificial sweeteners, so it's super good. And I'm just gonna add a tablespoon. Now, one of the second last ingredients is almond butter. If you can't have almond butter, you can swap this out to peanut butter. It obviously won't taste like as donut-like, but you can go with this. So any of the recipes that I make, I like to make them sort of like user-friendly. So you can switch out ingredients. If you wanna have whey protein over vegan protein, go for it. And if you're allergic to something, usually you can just change the nut. None of my recipes are sort of set. They don't have to be like that. Lastly, depending on how sweet you want it, I go with 2 tablespoons of the sugar-free maple syrup. Now, once you have everything into the bowl, you can just begin to mix it. It's a pretty good alternative for a donut. However, I probably would still rather eat a donut. Now, depending on the type of protein that you use, you may need to add a little bit of water. If it's a whey protein, you should be able to just go for it. Usually whey protein seems to turn recipes like a bit wetter for some reason. But with vegan protein, it just begins to soak it up. So it's peas and it just soaks up the moisture. So I just like to add a little bit of water as I go, just depending if I need it. So use a measuring cup if you are adding water to your recipe. Then that way you can, you'll know for next time, you can write it down. So I'm just gonna go with 1/4 of a cup. Once you start to get the mix all together, you can use your hands, but just for now, use a spoon. And I think I'm just going to add a touch more water. So now the mix is combined. Use your hands. This will bring it together a lot easier. Once the mix is all together like this, you are literally ready to roll the ball. So depending on your macros and how many balls you want, you can just roll these as big as you want. If you are making if you're counting the calories in these recipes, what you need to do now is then weigh the total mix. Once you've weighed the total mix, you can individually weigh each ball and you can calculate exactly how many calories are in each one. This is awesome if you are, counting your macros, you want to be mindful. If you are like me right now and you just want to go ahead and eat it, I suggest you just roll it into about 10 balls. This is what the recipe makes. And then again, you can still have the macros even if they are bigger. So you're just going to roll it into perfect little balls. And then straight into the mix. So in this one, I have stevia and I also have cinnamon. Have that set up ready to go so you can sort of have like a workflow going. One thing I like to do when I'm cooking is have everything ready. So you'll notice that I had my container behind me ready to go. This is what they're gonna go into. So whenever you're in the kitchen, work like it's a dance. You wanna go 1, 2, 3, everything's ready to go. And then my fridge is right behind me. So this is how you keep your kitchen clean. This is how you save time. And then you don't get overwhelmed either, because I feel like you can get super overwhelmed when you're cooking. So what we have here is the balls in the cinnamon mix. All you need to do is just toss them like this. And then you have your donut balls. Just add them to your container and then go again, keep rolling until you have your 10 balls. Obviously, one of my favorite things, making balls. And then you can just store them in your fridge. If you're wanting to keep them longer, go for it, put it in the freezer. They will last for like up to 2 months in the freezer, if not longer. All you need to do is keep it in a airtight container. So if you want to keep these balls in the fridge, up to 7 days is totally fine, if not longer, just because there's nothing in there that can really go off. And then if you want to keep them in the freezer, keep them for about up to 2 months. You need to keep them in an airtight container. These ones are super good because they have that security sealed lid. So once the lid goes on, no air can get in. And then one of my tips when buying containers for your food is getting like a smaller one. Don't get one with a lot of like air room in it. I don't even know if that makes sense. One with loads of space in it, because it then gives it room for moisture and condensation to develop. Whereas if you get a small one, there's less air room. I don't even know what the word would be. Less I want to say like less air time, but that's not it. All right, so these are the balls. Perfectly makes 10. Again, if you want less, make the recipe smaller and you can fit into your calories a little bit better. If not, that's perfect. What I'm going to do is store these in the fridge now. And then another cool thing about this recipe is this mix here is not wastage. All you need to do is grab yourself an airtight jar, and then you can literally have this stored, like ready to go. Obviously don't spill it this is really bad. Don't spill it everywhere. But yeah, you have your airtight jar, and then next time you go to make them, or you want like cinnamon flavored coffee, you're literally ready to go. So these are my donut balls. I hate when people do that.